Let me ask you a question. How do you honestly feel about your marriage? I feel like that's a tough question for people to answer honestly. So today, as I'm recording this, was the first day of school for all three of my kids. And this is a pretty big moment because this is Emmy's first year at school. And the way that we have raised our kids has been keeping them home until they are around 2 or 3 years old. So this is the first time in 8 years that there hasn't been a baby here. So first, my house is very quiet because Eric is at the kitchen making cookies for Cookies and Cream, which big shout out to our cookie company. If you have not ordered our cookies yet, highly recommend that you do so. It's Eat More Cookies. Cookies is spelled with a K, of course. eatmorecookies.com. So this is a big day because all three of my kids went to school. And so I have three little kids. Cameron is 8. Brooklyn is 5. She will actually be 6 next week. And Emmy is 2. She'll be 3 in October. And so if you have a business, you have a partner, and you have children, these are 3 areas that require love, attention, care, energy, time. And this is why there is such rampant and constant overwhelm. And this is also why marriages get pushed, relationships get pushed, because we're so buried in trying to keep humans alive and keep our businesses alive and growing, that it feels like we can come back to things later that are important to us. And really what's happened is that in marriage, it's become normalized that we live like roommates. And that's something for me that was never an option. In fact, even I will say that at the lowest points of our marriage, which we will be celebrating 12 years married this year, it was because I actually felt like that, or that we were getting to that place. And so there's a certain standard that I have, that I hold for my marriage and my partnership with Eric. And I think that for most of my clients and most women who are high achieving, ambitious businesswomen, we also have that standard, but we let that standard fall because of everything else that's on our plate. And so the question becomes, how do we realistically juggle all these things, balance all these things, strengthen our marriage when it just feels like we're pulled in so many different directions? And so today, I want to talk about just that. You know, the evolution, even from episode to episode here, is really beautiful because I get feedback from listeners. And a lot of times I'm taking the conversations that I'm having with my private clients and with the clients inside Mom Founders Inner Circle. And if one person is struggling with it, usually when I open that up to a bigger conversation, we find that many other women raise their hand. And so I want to preface all of this by saying, if you are somebody who recognizes you've put your business and your kids first, and you've put yourself and possibly your marriage last, understand that this is common. And I don't want you to feel shame around that. I want you to have awareness around it so that we can change it. Because the truth is, business and growth of business and being able to impact many people with your work is important. But what's more important is who you are and how you live offline. The relationships in the home that you live in. And I'm not going to go off on a tangent right now about what social media has created in terms of how we need to present ourselves and the proving energy that we feel that we need to put out into the world, and how it's made us somewhat irresponsible in really taking care of the things that matter. I'm not going to go down that tangent as badly as I wanted to, because that's not what today is about. Today is about you and bringing your marriage back in a realistic way. And I say realistic because that's where we get stuck. I know that that's a lot of times where I would get stuck. Like, what's our first response when we're like, oh, you know that you should have date nights with your partner. You know that you should have quality time with each one of your kids. And you're like, where does it fit? I don't have the time, right? And so then it just feels impossible. And so then we keep trekking on as we always have. And we have to inquire deeper into that. Right? Why are we not asking, why don't I have time to spend with the person that we selected each other to spend the rest of our life with? So just like business, when we get stuck in the day-to-day of things, we can lose sight of the bigger vision of business, right? We can lose sight of our original mission. We can get so caught up in that moving goalpost that we forget what the goalpost is even attached to in the field we're even playing on. And in marriage, what did you envision? For your family, what did you envision? You probably, if you're like anything like me, you envisioned spending time with your family, getting to know each of your children, having the space emotionally to be able to pour in. You would envision rich conversations that were deep in meaning, that shifted your way of thinking, that created new ways of thinking, that created new possibilities and opportunities for your family. You probably pictured traveling and experiencing other cultures and truly living. And yet sometimes it feels like we're just every day checking the boxes that we're supposed to check. So I don't want you to feel shame if you're here. I want you to be aware that you're here. And how we change this is all about taking back control. And this is why I go back and forth between tactical things and the operations of your business and the structure of your business and your business model and your services and your offerings and your time management and your calendar, because these are the boundaries. These are the fences. This is our roadmap for how we're doing life. How you set up and operate your business, how you operate as a leader, how you lead your team, who you have on your team, these things are all directly connected with the amount of time, energy, and space you have for things like your marriage. And so the problem is we are putting these issues in different buckets. We are looking at these issues as if they are disconnected. Not having a strong marriage or having time to spend with your partner is a business problem. That's a business problem, because if you're so anxious or worried or living in your business so much that you can't even think about your partner, what their love language is, what they need from you, if you are not having conversations with them, that's a business problem. And so our first step here, when we have awareness of, I am in a place where I am not prioritizing my marriage, and I'm not prioritizing my marriage because there's so much on my plate. Our first step from that is to look at what is on our plate, which is likely business, children, and other things. And then of those things, then we ask ourselves, okay, so what in these things can I control? What do I have the power to change and the power of choice around within these things that is mine alone to change? And this is where we get stuck, because we know that we can change things. We know that we're the creators of our business. We know that we can work less hours. We know we can say no to these things, but we don't because we're afraid. And so what are you more afraid of? Are you afraid of losing your business, or are you afraid of losing your marriage? Because while I don't think you need to choose between a growing business or depth in your marriage, if it comes down to being a choice, what would you choose? And that's where we understand, and the way that we answer that question is the way that we understand what we value most. When we think about happiness and we think about fulfillment as human beings, this isn't centered around how much money we make. Money is a vessel. Money gives us freedom of choice. But how do we actually act upon that freedom of choice when we have no freedom? If you can buy vacations for you and your partner or you and your family, but when you're on that vacation, you're not physically or emotionally present, what is the point? So how do we strengthen our marriage while parenting, leading teams, and running businesses? Your first step is always going to be awareness. You're going to hear me say that a million times over. And that's why I draw so much attention to that in the beginning of episodes, is like, just to make sure that you know the depth of this and to make you feel seen and heard and understood. Because again, you're not alone in this. It feels easy for the people that are always there physically, that sleep in the bed next to us. Hopefully, if they're still there, it seems easiest to push those people away because we don't recognize that we're doing it. So we have awareness that we want to spend more time with people that we love. We want to feel the spark. We want to feel in love again. We want to be able to sit and fully be with our partners. And then your next step is, what is stopping you? What are all the things on your plate that prevent you from doing that? Writing those things down and getting really clear on what are those. And then after that, going through those things and saying, what in these things do I actually have power and control over? What of these things is here and is an obstacle, not because it has to be, but because it's been there and I haven't done anything about it? That requires a level of honesty and accountability that some people will never take. And this is truly the difference from people who live happy, fulfilling, successful lives and those who don't. Because there's a lot of very wealthy, miserable people. But you don't want to be one of those people, which is why you're here. So you're aware, you know what you want to change, you have an idea of your vision, you know what is stopping you. And of those things, you know what you have control and the power to change. And then what do you think your next step is going to be? You have to change it. You have to make the uncomfortable choice. You have to do the thing that you're afraid to do. You have to stop telling yourself the same story of, when I get to X, then I can. Your marriage can be repaired and rebuilt through connection, through conversation, through clarity, through understanding. And so here's what I want you to do. After you go through these steps of awareness and figuring out what exactly is stopping you and figuring out what's in your control to change and figuring out exactly the changes that you need to make, be that reducing your working hours, be that, reducing your client load or capping your client load, it's going to be something around setting boundaries that are uncomfortable. I can guarantee that. And then here's some practical things that actually don't require that much time, but have a big impact. One of the best tips and tricks I tell people who are wanting to become closer to their partner and are battling with how to run the business and do that simultaneously is, when you're trying to foster any sort of relationship, a lot of times we focus on the quantity and the frequency of communications. We need to shift that to focusing on the quality of those communications. Instead of, oh, I need to talk to this person every single day, or I need to talk to this person and every time we talk, it needs to be 4 hours long. We need to start being more direct, more clear, and we need to have some sort of plan for our interaction. Are we asking for more support? Are we communicating a feeling? Are we asking for something that we need? Are we trying to help them understand where we are so they can better help us? So Eric and I do something every single week that is simple and doesn't require a ton of time. And it goes back to everything that I preach about structure and the importance of structure. We have a one night per per week date night in, if you will. So one of the barriers that people can have for strengthening their marriage is kids. Let's be honest, especially little kids. They're very dependent on us. They require more time, more energy. And at the end of the day, most of us just want to tune out the world and scroll on our phones. I absolutely do that sometimes, but at least one night a week, I don't. Eric and I put the kids to bed and we sit, we don't turn the TV on, we don't bring our phones, and we go through our weekly check-in. And the weekly check-in, again, is nothing huge. It's nothing profound, but it has sparked some of the most beautiful connecting conversations that have kept our marriage strong, that has built understanding, that has given us a safe space to communicate about anything with each other that we want to change or see differently. And I feel like it's magic. I feel like that what we have created in doing this, it keeps our marriage whole. And like, even just saying that, I have tears in my eyes because I think about the point in which our marriage was not. And so I resonate deeply and understand, and everything that I've said about the separation and the feeling like roommates, I felt that too. And I think it hurt more for me because Eric is my best friend. There is no doubt ever in my mind that he is the person that I'm meant to be with. He is everything I ever needed in a partner, and I could not see my life without him. Truly. And so having this weekly conversation, it's simple, it's calm, and it's safe. And so I want to tell you the 3 questions that we ask each other. And I want you to do this with your partner. Put your kids to bed. You don't need a babysitter. This is nothing. You don't need anything fancy. You need each other in a quiet space. And your first question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did I serve as your partner this week? It's important to preface this conversation with the promise that both of you will be honest. And that if there's any hurt feelings, you'll be willing to walk and talk through them without anger. And if anger is an issue between you and your partner, you can always use the pause button rule. When emotions start elevating to anger, you pause and resume the conversation once you are more emotionally regulated. It's not helpful to conversate from that point. And I tell people that all the time. That's just communication one-on-one. It's not productive. So first question is 1 to 10. How did I serve as your partner this week? Obviously, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. You have to be honest. The second question is, what did I do that you want to see more of, or that you really enjoyed? This opens up a space for compliments, for words of affirmation, for affirming your partner in efforts that you've seen or a way that they showed up to you. It's recognition. And we all need that because oftentimes we just do so many things, especially as women. We're walking around the house and we're picking up things and then we're putting this away and then we're doing this and we're doing that. And there's like this underlying kind of resentment that we can feel because we're doing all these things and we feel like we're not getting noticed. And part of that is, okay, let's open this space for recognition. And the other part of that is tell your partner that you want recognition for that. So the second question is, what do you want to see more of? What did I do well that you really enjoyed? What is something that you love that I did for you? What is something that you saw that made you happy? Just opening up this conversation for that recognition. And then lastly is, was there anything that I did that you would like to see less of, or that you need me to change or do differently? This opens up a space for change, to communicate, hey, please stop leaving your socks on the floor. It makes me feel like I'm your mom and I have to pick them up. Sometimes we just don't communicate little annoyances. And fun fact, there was this study done actually around married people and their sex lives. And one of the things that really affects your sex drive is anger. There's an underlying anger. And I think for women, we hold a lot of things in that build up as resentment. And a lot of those things are little annoying things that compound that we don't speak up about. So this third question opens up the space for that. It opens up a space for you to say, I would love to see this done differently. And what's great is, since you're doing this on a weekly basis, that thing that you ask for change, there's almost some accountability the next week of like, hey, I recognize that ever since I told you to start picking up your socks, you did that. And I really appreciate that. I noticed that I was more calm this week because I didn't feel like I was cleaning up after everybody else. And so again, you can hear these 3 questions are nothing that are crazy or profound, but also it's just about having these points that open up these different types of conversations. And then you get to shift and you get to respect that, like, they're in the seat of sharing or they're in the seat of asking questions. And then you get to take it into deeper conversations. Eric and I have had some of our best, most connecting conversations from this. And I'm so grateful that I've been able to share this with clients and seeing the impact of their relationships. And really, this can apply in business and in your friendships too. Typically, I try to ask my team, what do they want to see more of? What do they want to see less of? It's just us communicating. And that's what gets lost. And that's why our marriages feel dry and forgotten, and we feel like roommates. So if you want to strengthen your marriage and you want to be able to do that while you're building businesses, understand first what's in your way, know what you have the power to control and change in those things. Do the hard thing to make the change because that's what aligns with your big vision and your values that you have. And then start holding these weekly date nights in. This is like a 30-minute, hour, depending on what road you take this to, conversation. But I promise you, if you prioritize this, you will feel so much closer to your partner. And when you feel close and supported by your partner, life feels easier and safer and better. And I know this for a fact. So I hope that this is helpful for you. I hope that you understand now the connection between how you run your business and the structure of your business and the ins and outs of your business and how they affect the things outside of your business. And this is also why I'm always, when I work with clients, taking a holistic view. This is why we make the changes that we do in your business, because it's one thing to make a change to scale bigger. It's another thing to make a change to scale bigger, impact more people, generate more revenue, but making that change through the filter of not sacrificing more time away from the people that you love. And that's very special. And I'm so honored and privileged to be the one that gets to guide women to do that. So thank you again for listening. If you are a mom, entrepreneur, or founder, and you're looking for a space to land, to get the guidance that you need to make the changes that you know you need in your business, I highly recommend looking at Mom Founders Inner Circle. My private partnership is on a wait list right now. You are welcome to join the wait list if you would like a spot in 2025. But I really recommend the Mom Founders Inner Circle. This is a group program, but the way that it is structured, it is personalized to you and personalized to your business. You start this journey by filling out an entire assessment about your business so that all of the guidance that I am giving you is personalized to you. So this is not a generic program where you are forgotten and left to the masses. We are capping the number of women that are in this program, and we also include a retreat to bring everybody together in person and give you a break from the day-to-day. So an amazing program. So excited for all the women who are joining, and I hope that this has given you hope for your marriage and a reminder that it doesn't just have to be wealth and money and business. It can be fulfillment and happiness too. So thank you for listening. Always open for your feedback, your ideas, what you want to hear me talk more about, and would love to hear your insights and takeaways from this episode. So please screenshot, tag me, and tell your friends. Tell your friends to tell a friend. So thanks for listening. I'll see you next week.